Welcome. Today we're turning mics on.
Turning mics, yeah, that's it. That's right.
Steve Milizia, who I've been so curious to know more about. He has such a passion and curiosity and has been such a beloved member of the Media Factory. So we are here today to hear his story.
Oh, Jude, thank you.
Yeah.
That was sweet. That's really sweet. I like that a lot. I love coming down here. I really do. I really love coming down here. I wish I could spend more time. You know I've got a lot of gifts, and I do like the idea of helping share the good news. Again, my name's Steve Milizia. I work here at the I produce here at the Media Factory with the help of people like Jude and my good friends Daryl Graham and Munir Khoury. They're not with us today. This is a normal day that we'd be doing a show, but the tables, like Jude said, the mics, the cameras, they've been switched. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Jude had asked me to tell a little story. I've got several. I grew up here in Burlington. I've lived here the majority of my life. Charlotte, Winooski, South Burlington. Always been a Chittenden County kind of guy. I get 66 years old. I was born in 1955, right here at the Mary Fletcher Hospital. I used to slide down the hill when I was a kid there, almost to Colchester Ave. So that kind of stuff. I've been saying that I was born right here in this hospital because for the last 6 years I've been spending a lot of time at UVM. It was in 2000, and we'll get to some more about who I am and how I got to be that place, but I'll tell you how you and I got to know each other a little bit more. I was already in the middle of what I experienced now, stage 4 cancer. Stage 4 cancer for me originated in my prostate at 59 years old. I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and it was highly recommended that it get removed. So 3 months later, January of 2016, I received what's called the Da Vinci process, the Da Vinci procedure, and it's where no human hands enter my body. Quicker recovery time, 4, 5, 6 incisions, and scopes and tools. And the next day I was up walking around. And when they told me to do one lap around the ward, I did 2. I'm going to get there. There was something that just said, okay.
Can you back up, Steve? Give me a thumbnail sketch. I know you went to
Rice Memorial High School. Yes.
And you were athletic.
I was athletic.
Right. And then
yes.
And then what happened?
And then what happened? I'm going to say this publicly, and because of my immature behavior in high school, my football coach caught me after the football season with a can of beer in my hands at 17 years old with a couple of buddies in the car. And what were offers to play football at the University of Maine and the University of Vermont became no more. I lost the trust of my coach. And you need a lot of support to be able to get, scouts can come and look at you, but you've got to get a blessing from the coach. And I let him down. I disappointed him.
On that one,
I have the letters that recruit me.
Right.
Okay, and then it stops.
Right.
And as a young boy, 17, that's anyways. To get to the next phase, yeah. I worked for a year. Locally and lived at home. I think you already know my friend Daryl.
Yes.
His brother Dana had gone off to school the year that I took off, Johnson State College, which is now part of Northern University, and invited me to come up, go to a concert, have some fun. The doors open to the movie Animal House, and it was so attractive that I went there directionless. I went there my first semester. I'm here to study. They recruited me to play basketball. They recruited me to play rugby. I was blessed with, God gave me a lot of gifts. He gave me a lot of physical gifts and the enjoyment of being with others on a team. That was probably the best gift, just because it was a safe place. Sports was a great place to be able to be part of something bigger than yourself. And I always enjoyed that. So I went to Johnson State College. I think I mentioned before we even got on the air that at a young age I experienced loss in my family when my brother passed. I was 20, he was 19. I was going to be 21. It came as a shock. It was very tragic. It should serve as a warning because it certainly directed my life for a number of years, not understanding how to grieve and feel the pain. My brother was involved in drugs and guns illegally, and it didn't end well for him. He was found dead in Milton, Vermont in 1976. It's one of the unsolved cases here in Vermont. I had a little twinge when, I like social media, and I use social media a lot, and believe it or not, on Facebook, the state police, last month, there was a picture of my brother, and he's standing in front of his Gran Torino, eating a banana with his ponytail and long hair and wire-rimmed glasses, and that was the last time I saw him. And they had that on Facebook, asking for anybody if they knew anything, if they knew anything. The horrific part goes away. The missing him is always there, always there. But I have great friends that certainly give me what a brother gives me. The work career that had me traveling across North America was such a blessing, like I said. It had its drawbacks, but the benefits in terms of where I went, who I saw, how I grew as a professional, and the opportunities that working for national companies gave me on a stage. On a stage, I did press release, all kinds of things that easily translatable here. Again, it's just fun stuff to do. I had a little background in some video work with the old Adelphia cable company when it was public access, Channel 15. When Sports Blitz, Daryl and I, and before that it was Kevin Smith, the Smith-Millett Sports Blitz. It was a lot of fun. We had a 5-year run where we missed 1 week, and that was because everything was shut down because of the snow. I mean, we were right into it. The man on the street interviews and the ball games, the state championships we recorded. We had a lot of fun, and we filled a gap. We filled a gap there because when I was growing up, and I mentioned Rice Memorial, and I've got great friends at Burlington and Winooski and the whole bit, when we would play each other, we would have a full page of storylines going into that game. We were celebrated in our community.
As high school students.
High school.
Right?
And even after, we played in men's leagues, several men's leagues, from football to baseball to softball to basketball, all the time something going on in the parks here in Burlington. And again, to this day, still connected to those same people 50 years ago. I benefit from having many friends and many opportunities to make friends and keep friends. And that has been a blessing for me. That has been a blessing. I've got a lot of guys that have helped me out in a lot of ways that I wouldn't have expected I needed help. But physically, I do now. You know, I sit here with you, and you've known me this size. Well, that wasn't always the case. You know, again, at 50 years old, like I said, I got into this place where, Steve, it's time for you to get back to what you get in shape. Just get in shape. I was heavy. I was eating bad food, and I made a commitment. I joined Weight Watchers. First 3 months, okay, I'm all right. It's a process. I'm learning how to eat. I joined a gym. Never had to join a gym before. I was active enough until that 45, 48-year-old guy that stopped playing competitively in those basketball leagues and all that other stuff got in good shape, back in good shape, best shape I'd been since I was a kid. And you know what? I credit that. I credit the guidance to get that, the determination to do it, the ego to say I want to be in the best shape of my life. Because at 59, well, that probably started before, but I was diagnosed at 59 with cancer. So when cancer hit, my body took it. Like I said, 2 years earlier, I had a hernia operation. It interrupted my gym routine for a couple of months. And I thought that's what prostate removal surgery was going to be like. 2, maybe 3 months to get back to where I was back in that gym every day, 7 days a week. 7 days a week. It was religion. And I got positive results. I was strong. I was healthy. Prostate notwithstanding, that's one of those deals. Right now, they say, and again, depending on where you read it, 1 in 4 to 1 in 5 men will get prostate cancer during their lifetimes. When you reach a certain age, 100% of you are going to get prostate cancer if you live long enough. It's a faulty gland in a man's system. The prostate came out. 3 months later, I am back in the gym working out, a little gingerly, but because you're invaded, it's major surgery, because they reconstruct you. Mm-hmm. You know, you're operating differently now. It changes how a man operates. Well, right after that surgery, and again, it was about 3 months, I went back and they do all kinds of blood tests and they check what they call the PSA level. And you'd think I know exactly what that acronym stood for, but anyways, good, it's good, it's good. Boop, dip, boop, boop. Over time, starts to pick up again. I guess I should talk about that, how it came about, because you're right, I do want to share that with other men. Male health screenings, female health screenings, extremely important, extremely. I was somebody who did. The indicators didn't indicate for me the depth of the disease until I was exhibiting frequency, urge, need. It's tough. It's different. I mean, it impacts a man. And I was able to get some medicine. It calmed me down. I wasn't up 6 times a night to go to the bathroom. It wasn't like all of a sudden I got to go and what am I going to do? It helped calm that down for about 6 months. And then it just got to there and worse. So going back to the doctors, another exam, you got to go to see a urologist. I went to a urologist and he examined me and then he said, we need to do a biopsy. And a biopsy is, I thought a biopsy was a snip of a tissue, and it is 12 times. And you feel, a week later I got a call, 11 out of 12 came back positive. They give you what they call a Gleason score. The Gleason score indicates the next steps. Leave it alone. Observe it, inject radioactive seeds to try to kill the cancer while the prostate's still in the body, or in my case, removal, which was try to get the cancer and get it out of your body. Well, because it had spread in me outside of the prostate itself, and my blood was indicating that I still have cancer cells operating, the next step for me was Lupron hormone injections. Well, as soon as I started getting the Lupron shots, guess what? Testosterone. And what that means is the drive goes, your energy level, the whole bit. It does physically change your body. And then the next phase for me was, because we want to make sure we get it, 40 external beam radiations that you lay down and the tube comes over and you fill yourself up with, they make you drink a quart of fluid before you go in. Water, and that's designed to expand the bladder, and that helps to protect other parts of the body, because the radiation is going, trying to kill the cancer cells that are in the area. It didn't bother me at all until about the 20th one. I started feeling like I had a sunburn inside. You've had sunburns, right?
Yeah.
Well, feel that deep inside. That's what it was like. I mentioned I traveled a lot. And I would go I worked for a company in Montreal. I finished my work career with a company out of Montreal, Ranger Design, an automotive firm that had a great product, good timing, and because I had some experience working in the States with automotive accessories, they recruited me. Just wonderful people, and they're part of my story too, because I was employed with them during this time. I went out to a trade show. They're called dog and pony shows. You bring customers in, you got Ford Motor Company coming in, you got the Ranger Design. It's a big deal and it's fun. It's just fun. I get up and I do the dog and pony show. I get back in the truck in the afternoon. I come home before 10 o'clock at night. I could barely walk upstairs. I started really being uncomfortable in my back and in my hips, in my shoulders. Stuff starting to burn. I'm Googling so many different stretching exercises, yoga, anything I can do to try to get some relief. I kept going back and getting x-rays and getting prescribed. My first prescription was gabapentin. A month later, my second, not working. My second prescription was cyclobenzaprine. Not working, making me sick. My third prescription was prednisone. Well, It didn't work. It's getting close to a year and a half from the prostate being removed. I could barely walk. I remember fighting it. We went to Washington, D.C. to do another group thing with Ford, and I was uncomfortable and it hurt, but I was getting through it. And I went to Arlington Memorial Cemetery. I remember being determined to walk to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. I'd never been, but I'm going this far and I'm going to go do that. It took me a long time, and I'm dragging a leg. And I got to my hotel room and did the presentation the next day, and it's bothering me again. And I'm laying, I can still see myself laying outside of the conference room trying to get some relief in my back when I realized that I can't go to California and do this. I've got to go home. I've got to go home. I ended up going to the doctors again for another x-ray. And I called the doctor's office looking for a result for that x-ray because something's got to be going on. This is just too much. And she could hear it in my voice. And she said, pull over, call an ambulance, and get yourself to the emergency room. So I did. I stopped in at Automaster. I went in and I said, fellas, I got to do this. And the ambulance came and they got me. I was in so much pain, it took me down. I've never felt any pain like that in all of my life. And like I said, I've had some injuries, but nothing like this, nothing. Young guy came in and said, we probably need to do an MRI. They came and got me, and they did an MRI, and about an hour later, the same young guy came in and he said, I'm sorry to tell you, Mr. Milizia, but you have stage 4 cancer. We see about 100 or more tumors throughout your spine. It was at that moment I heard my wife, she gasped, hard. And I just thought to myself, thank you, Lord. I know what this is now. I know what this is. What do we do now? Where do we go from here? And that brought me into another journey with an oncologist now, with 3 oncologists there. Chemotherapy. Got to do chemotherapy. All right. Well, I did chemotherapy then. Well, chemotherapy was interesting. I mentioned to folks that I wouldn't wish chemotherapy on the devil. I've had doctors tell me don't do chemotherapy. Doctors. And, I did chemotherapy, and some of the best stuff that came out of that were those same friends that I think you already mentioned, I have. I had 6 sessions. Well, one session was reserved for my family, Christopher and Betty. And the other one were 5 guys that I either played ball with or just absolutely love, and they all sat with me. And that's interesting because I've had a lot of treatment since then too, but that whole chemotherapy thing, it knocks your hair out. I got it shaved off, and it does funky things to you. I can't feel the bottom of my feet. Creates neuropathy throughout certain parts. Some people it's in the hands. You see me with stuff like this, I tighten up a lot. Just tighten up a lot, no matter what. It changes, things change you. You wait for the day to stop the hot flashes because you get wet, and then you freeze, and you can't get warm. And it's a real challenge for people. It's a real challenge. I made it through it, which was a good thing. At the end of chemotherapy, it was in the end of April of 2019, I got introduced to the wonderful game of golf. And I like to say that golf waited for me, Jude. Golf waited for me. The same guys that sat with me during chemotherapy brought me to a golf outing. And I just fell in love with the camaraderie and the just being with guys. I retired from work, and they were very supportive of me and my family while I was going through this. They kept me whole, and I'm forever grateful for the kindness that they showed me and my family. I was recovering physically. And one of the things that I'll share with you that I found extremely difficult as I retired was my body could slow down to meet that retirement pace that I anticipated, but my mind couldn't. I planned every week and activities in every day and reported on it before the day started and reported on it at the end of the day. I worked for a top-notch company in the last 5 years. We were a world-class company. It's just like a football team. When you got good ball players, you have to put them in the right position based on their skills, right? And yeah, that worked really well for me with Ranger Design. It worked really well. It worked really well. I guess I keep going back to that because, like I said, I'm grateful for Ranger Design and the folks that are there that when I was not well, they cared for me. One of the guys that I played sports with growing up, he said, "Hey, are you okay?" And so I shared with him the story. He said, "Oh man, I want to take you to lunch next time I come." We go to lunch. Food was good. But like I said, my mind's always going. And I'm walking through Vermont National parking lot, and I see a crushed beer can over here, and cigarette and cigar stubs over here, and busted tea over here. I walk up onto the deck, and I see that the porch hasn't been swept. That's not lost on me. That's a work opportunity. All right? That's a work opportunity. And I make my way into the general manager's office. I can see him right there, and I want to compliment him on the good food. And I'm commiserating with him now, too, because, and this is the God's honest truth, all I had to do was say, look out the window. I just looked out the window, and I said, "Boy, hard to get help, huh?" I've got a little service, Blacktop Meadows Lotscaping. Me and my crew can take care of this for you, the whole thing. I got access to Vermont National for 2 straight years doing that. I hit 200 balls every day. Every day I go out and practice. Every day. And I watch a lot of video. And so I started to get better. It's a gift being out there. It really is a gift being out there in nature, the nature that you see and you experience. Found an opportunity to join Quinniasca. I work as a starter, and I believe my role is to ensure that everybody enjoys themselves first, participates in a way that is, golf etiquette is something that you aren't born with. It's something you have to learn. I call it dancing with a club. There are movements in sequence that the body does in relation to the club and how it comes down to sweep through an area where the ball happens to be. The more you try to hit the ball, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work well that way. It's the body mechanics and the right movement and the twisting of the hip and the shoulders and all of that stuff. And it's remarkable given that stage 4 cancer in my spine and I am swinging a golf club and improving. That is something that I really, I get up every day with that. So I do want to talk about all the beautiful things that have happened for me, and then cancer just seems to keep rearing its ugly head. That's what it does. The story keeps going. It didn't stop after chemotherapy. The next treatment was, they called them chemotherapy pills. The trade name is arboridorone, and it is a high dosage, again, of hormones. While most guys were getting 18 months out of this, 2 pills a day, empty stomach, it's a regimen, and it does not make you feel good. I got 6 months out of it. I was due for a visit in December. In November, I called the doctor and confirmed again that, yes, cancer's on the move. So put me on another chemo pill, not a chemo pill, another high dose of hormones, and it didn't work. I went back for another shock of radiation. And like I shared before, I've had 20 before I felt the inside sunburn. I didn't get off the table when I was already on fire inside. I knew it was a doozy. And for 4 days, I was beside myself. I was prescribed 115 milligrams of morphine a day. That's the only thing that took the pain away. But I knew I couldn't stay on that. I reduced it and went through I'm sure I went through a week's time of being sick. Some would say withdrawal. I would think so. A friend of mine, and actually he was on the show, Bryce and his friend Richard, to talk about prostate cancer, sent me an article, a new approach to prostate cancer that has metastasized, that has had some results. And because chemotherapy was the last bullet in the holster, anything we can do to push it out, I prefer. Geez, guess what? A brand spanking new radioactive isotope, luteum-177, trade name Pluvicto, smart drug, right to the stuns the cancer for a period of time. I'm a candidate. It's going to work if I can get it. That's the deal, right? I say it's going to work. It's going to extend my life because it will. The cancer won't. It'll eventually take over, right? It does that to the body. When the treatments are no longer effective, cancer continues to work its magic in destruction. It kills itself. Right? Over time, it'll kill itself because the host will cease to exist because the system shuts down. I've got a short window that I can continue to go without some type of treatment. It just gets it's progressive. We've knocked it around a bit. We've knocked it around a bit. It's never left. It's here for good. It's here for good. But I have had moments where I shake my head and wonder, where was the red flag in all of this in my file? I didn't know this until much later, but 90% of men who have prostate cancer and the cancer spreads goes to the bone. Unless you're right there before that cancer cell moves into that place where it's never going to leave and can interrupt it, I'm destined for stage 4 cancer. All right, just naturally destined for it. The quick deterioration that occurred in those months the severity may have been lessened. For whatever reason, it didn't get picked up on until a young intern up at the hospital suggested an MRI. You feel pain, you demand. And that's you know that you didn't fall down and hurt it. If you feel something that is not comfortable, doesn't feel right, get the MRI and push for the MRI. I don't care if you got to take a loan out and get the MRI, because that test alone will indicate whether or not cancer's moving. Resentments are not good for me. I don't want them. I just wish for the next guy that put a red flag in your file, because if nobody's going to do it, you're going to have to do it yourself. And that's one of the things that I've had great teaching from my wife, who's probably the best advocate I know. While you're sitting here listening to me tell my story, it's not complete without other folks involved. You know, we talk about caregivers, and they come in many sizes and shapes and forms, and my son and my wife, obviously. My son Christopher, he's been probably outside of my wife, the best blessing I've ever had. Young man with Down syndrome. You met Chris? Yeah, you've seen Chris. Yeah.
Can you expand on that? Betty and your son Chris, the greatest blessings of your life. Tell me about your family.
Absolutely. Betty and I met at college. We enjoyed each other's company. She's very bright. She's a strategic thinker. She's a community-minded woman. She is the best advocate for her son. I was window dressing when it came to a lot of that stuff. Those were some of my not so shining moments when conflict, she was going to do anything she needed to do to make sure her son got the best education, the best of what he deserved as any other person would. The beauty of Betty is that she's creative enough and smart enough to, why are you doing this over here for Christopher when you could do it over here? And if you do it this way, it's going to benefit every child. That's her blooming flower that Christopher watered when he came. I still see the day. We were living in Winooski when I came home, and Betty told me she was pregnant. And it was like, Yahoo, is this cool? This is cool. We're young, but yeah, we're ready for this. We're ready for this. I say that, you never are ready. It's easy to say it. Well, during that time, I was, again, heavily involved. If it was football season, I was playing football. If it was softball season, I was playing softball. Basketball season, playing basketball. I got invited by a man named Tim Cope. He asked me if I would bring the football team and play some flag football for a Special Olympics event. And it was a lot of fun. It was good. It was good. I had experience with people with disabilities in my own neighborhood. A young lady, Lynn Conlon, God rest her soul, was the first person I ever met with Down syndrome. Her brother Pat and I were friends. Pat would come to my house. Pat would come inside my house. I would go to Pat's house. Never made it past the door jamb to get into Pat's house. There's always, they were squirreling away, Lynn Conlon, little sister. I could see her sitting up in the window looking out. Maybe a year younger than me, maybe 2. And she didn't go to the same school we went to. She went to that other school. But again, that was my first experience with people with disabilities. Well, during that time, I went with Tim Cope and brought the team to UVM and played on Saturday. The event was 2 days. I went back the second day, but I'm the only guy that went. A week later, I got a phone call and said, Steve, this was Tim Cope, would you be interested in coaching a group of Special Olympians? If somebody needs to learn to shoot a layup, I'll teach them how to shoot a layup. That's how I felt about it. I remember going, and about 15, 18 kids. Well, I'll tell you what, 6 kids to manage on a basketball court is enough. 10 is plenty for a coach who's coaching kids that are there and probably have a little idea about basketball. Well, you got 18, that's a little different story. And every one of them's got something different that they've got to overcome to try to participate. I tell you what, it helps you become a better coach, because it did that for me. This started in September. Betty's out to here. Come on down. Come on, Betty, I want you to come see this. Okay, all right, come on down. She came down, and like I said, she's out to here. She recalls, or she tells me that I asked her, Betty, what would we do if we had a child with a disability? And her reply was, Steve, I take all my vitamins. I don't drink. We're gonna, the kids who showed up, anywhere in age, I was probably 4 or 5 years older than most of them. They'd have titles, or they would come with a label, titles. They came with a label, mental retardation. Again, mongoloid, which quickly turned into Down syndrome, but mongoloid, yeah, those phrases. I got something about Kevin. Kevin was a young man with Down syndrome. We kind of hit it off, and he liked sports, and I liked sports, and he didn't talk very well, because it wasn't until he was like 4 years old they realized he couldn't hear. And he walked with a limp because he had deterioration in his hip, and he had broken a hip when he was young, and he's just complaining. He's just complaining. He never got it taken care of. Well, they didn't take care of him, I should say. Anyways, I learned that 1 in 600 babies born is born with Down syndrome here in America. And we'll go back to the Catholic piece. Betty's pregnant. We go to church. I can still see it, St. Stephen's. And at one point, I look down and I hear clearly in my head, 1 in 600. It's 1 in 660 babies. 1 in 600, 1 in 600, 1 in 600, 3 times in my head. 3 times I look down. And 2 months later, we go through the whole process. We still have the book of timing the contractions, and we go up to the hospital. Sorry, it's on a Sunday. Sorry, Mrs. Milizia, you're not ready to go yet. It could be another couple of weeks. You never know. And my I could still fear. Go home, have a glass of wine, relax. Well, I'm the one that went home and had a glass of wine. And at 10 o'clock, Steve, the baby's coming. Let's go. We rush up to the hospital, and while the doctor's on his way, they attach a monitor to Betty. And we're not going in the quiet delivery room over here. Something we just got to be careful. We went into, we didn't go in the birthing room. We went into a delivery room. The lights and the flash and all that stuff, where we were prepped for, drop these lights, nice and quiet. Just nice and quiet. Well, there's a little bit of an alarm. Heart, okay. All right, well, we're not sure, but well, it was probably We were there at 10 o'clock, and he was born at 12:06 or 12:08, something like. I mean, came quick. I looked. He's coming. No, he's not. He's coming, and there he was. He was coming, and oh my God, the most beautiful, beautiful. Of course, what do? 5 fingers, 5 toes, sweet. I think he was 6 pounds. Maybe, yeah, it wasn't much more than that. The sweetest little thing I ever saw in and I watched him being born. Betty holds him, and it wasn't 5 minutes later. All that quick, the cry, the joy, all of that got quiet. Got quiet. They wrapped up the baby and they took the baby. And okay, this is our first child. We didn't really, we're just Betty went back to her room. I went home. I got a call the next morning. This is late, this at midnight. I got a call the next morning. Steve, come to the hospital quick. Something's wrong with the baby. And I said, what, Betty? Calm down. What's the matter? They say he has Down syndrome. What's that? And I said, Bet, you know Kevin. Kevin has Down syndrome. No, they switched my baby. That's not my baby. And we go, and there's the baby, and he's sweet. Oh, my God. But the doctors came and said, we have reason to believe Christopher has Down syndrome. And the unfortunate part was the doctor didn't wait for me to get there to share that with Betty. So she's in that place of fear and unknown. And so I remember going and meeting and seeing Christopher, and just the sweetest little thing, son of a gun. Oh my God, he's beautiful. But they pointed out a couple of things. If you turn your hand over and put your hand next to mine, you see those lines? I got them too, right? Mm-hmm. Christopher has one. They call it a simian crease. Yeah. That's there. Slight almond shape to the eyes. Not significant, but a little flatter here in the nose. Those are indications that Christopher is genetically different.
The likelihood of us having another child with a disability was extremely high given our age when Christopher was born. We decided to put all of our energy, and again, I would share that my wife did most of that work, the majority of that work. She's the captain that steers the ship, and I'm really grateful to be able to shovel the coal in the engine. I feel like we've been blessed with Christopher. I've been blessed with having Christopher as my son. He's my best friend.
To go through cancer for 6 years, and yet you remain really positive and really resilient and really hopeful. Tell me about that.
That part was easy to get to. And what I mean by that is I spent the last 31 years in recovery. I thought alcohol was helping me. Alcohol and some drugs were helping me to not feel the pain of losing my family. Not losing my mother, but not having, you can only imagine what that would be like, and a shock to find out that my brother is no longer here, and no goodbye, and a violent, tragic death, and nothing you really feel you can do about that. My exposure to a way of life that didn't include alcohol and drugs was, that was a gift. It was shared with me, and I grabbed hold of that. It was safe. It was a place for me to meet other people that were like me, or could relate to me, I guess, and I could relate to them. I've learned things through recovery, little phrases. This too shall pass. I know it's going to pass. I know it is. The uncomfortableness that I feel, the sickness that I feel. I read the St. Francis prayer this morning. Let me be a channel of thy peace. Let me, where there's sorrow, I bring joy. We could post it, maybe that's what we'll do, post it, the picture of the St. Francis prayer. help me to understand instead of being understood. That's hard. When I learned that I had stage 4 cancer, it shatters the illusion of immortality instantly. Didn't expect this. I didn't expect it. But I'm grateful to be adaptable and resourceful. I think those are traits that being brought up here in Vermont have helped me with. When I first started, I was thinking about, born here in Burlington, Vermont, to Joseph, Albert, and Andre Roland Milizia. People who influenced me and helped me grow and gave me things that power me today. A faith in something greater than myself, a belief in something greater than myself. I'm grateful for all the things that I've got because I can just imagine not having health insurance. I'm not bankrupt today. It bankrupts a lot of people. Cancer does, and the treatments. I eat when I want to eat. I have a roof over my head. I've got a family that loves me. I've got so many guts. I've got gut. When I look at others in similar situations, wow, I've been treated quite well. I've been treated extremely well. I got people who care about me. I'm on a journey. I've had people here, it's not a poor me. Why not? Right? I mean, the numbers are out there. You can't get it all out. You just can't. They tried their best. They did their best. And yeah, they got a little late on it. Okay. It accelerated my journey into this. It really helped me. Focus is something that I can tell you, I'm a very distractible kind of guy. Shiny, blingy over here, I'll look at that too. This has helped me become more focused in how I just want to be and who I want to be. I like myself a lot better. And people like me a lot more when it's just the real me. I guess it's a hard question to answer in that, what was that seminal moment, if you will? I don't know when it occurred, but I do know it occurred when I've had a few moments throughout the years, even before any recovery started or before cancer started, where I got a glimpse of asking for something and being directed to the answer and having it work out. So that's just not wishful thinking. That's some free will, I'm sure. And that's, it's me taking action, the right action, taking responsibility, not shucking that responsibility. I'm still a procrastinator in a lot of things, but it's doing what's right in front of me right now. The right thing right in front of me right now. And that has been a real solid approach for me. Pretty insightful when I hear these words, I am today all of my yesterdays. I like that a lot because I've had some yesterdays that have been superb. I've had some yesterdays that, you could have done a lot better. You could have done a lot better. And so reflection is good. While I'm not a deep spiritual thinker, it doesn't mean I don't think deeply spiritually, because I do. There are times I think that I've come to understand that the universe is ever expanding, right? Now, I don't know how many people have lived on this earth, billions I know, over the time that it's been here. And somehow, there are times I think that when we leave here, the physical form leaves here, that light inside us that is uniquely us, connected to something else, gets released onto that universe, and we expand. And I'll probably get picked up again. And I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about how to be not so good and how to be a better person. And I've stubbed my toe a few times, but I like the idea of getting back up and trying it again.